For an understanding of how 2012 relates to the Maya calendar, we should refer to the seminal work of John Major Jenkins, who wrote a book called Maya Cosmogenesis 2012. So Jenkins shows that the site of Itzapa, which is a site where it's now thought that the Olmecs probably developed the calendar, on those inscriptions there are stories, pictorial stories from the Popol Vuh myth. This is a myth that comes from Quiché Maya, but it's now pretty well accepted by archaeologists that this goes way back into history and has formed a lot of the way of thinking of the Maya. Well, on these pictures, it's shown scenes from the Popol Vuh where the two hero twins descend into the underworld to resurrect their father, who is a solar deity. And for example, there is a depiction of the solar deity coming out of the mouth of the jaguar toad, and that represents the mouth of the toad, and also sometimes the snake or the alligator represents what we now call the dark rift, the fat bulge in the Milky Way where there's a dark area of interstellar dust clouds. That to the Maya was Xibalba, the area where their shamans travelled to bring back knowledge from the ancestors. So that was seen as the mouth of one of these reptiles, and the god coming out of the mouth represents the winter solstice sun eclipsing the galactic center area, which is on the galactic equator, and the cross that's shown underneath that represents the crossing of the ecliptic, the path of the sun, and the actual galactic equator.
By the early 1990s, Jenkins and McKenna became more and more convinced that the end date of the Mayan 13 Baktun cycle was linked with the conjunction of the Sun with the intersection of the ecliptic and the plane of the Milky Way. Such an alignment is a major astronomical event. One can only stand in admiration that the Maya were aware of this, centuries before science was able to confirm this fact. And what to make of the coincidence of our physicists' discovery of a black hole at the center of our galaxy and the Mayan belief in a great black hole in the very same spot.
Now there are several implications which we need to take into account with this one. First of all, a black hole is of course a singularity, and second, the symbolism has worked its way into Mayan mythology.
McKenna used this symbolism when he wrote, "Over millennia, the Maya observed the drama of the approach of Father Sun toward the vagina of Mother Sky, and though the cosmic event itself was calculated to occur many centuries in the future, the Maya made the future conjunction the anchor point of their machinery of cosmic timekeeping. Their myth chose our time as the quintessential moment of creation. A year before his own death, McKenna wrote how the world was perhaps not meant to end, but was to be born on December 21, 2012. This coincides with John Major Jenkins' conclusion that the ancient Maya understood something about the nature of the cosmos and the spiritual evolution of humanity that has gone unrecognized in our own worldview. This understanding involves our alignment with the center of our galaxy, our cosmic center and source, and identifies 2012 AD as a time of tremendous transformation and opportunity for spiritual growth, a transition from one world age to another.
Some years ago, Daniel Brinkley had a near-death experience. He was speaking on the telephone, I think it was 1975, and a huge bolt of lightning hit the telephone line and threw his body physically up to the ceiling, and then it crashed to the floor, and from that point on he was out of body. In the ambulance, he was floating above his body still, and then a tunnel opened up in front of him, and he went down the tunnel into a really bright light and was confronted by a bright silver being, and then he relived, he had a life recall experience, after which he was taken to see a group of these 12 beings surrounding a 13th, and then they each presented him in turn a screen on which he saw scenes from the future. And there are over 300 scenes from the future between 1975 and 2012 to 2014 was when the series ended. And those scenes included things like the fall of the Berlin Wall and the explosion of the nuclear power plant at Chernobyl, well before they actually occurred. And by year 2000, there was only about 17 of these huge world events left to occur that he'd foreseen back in 1975. And they finish off with something that he says is a window of opportunity for mankind to evolve, but it will also be, there'll be a geomagnetic reversal of the Earth between 2012 and 2014, and that previous to that the Earth changes will escalate, but that this will not just be a series of catastrophes, but will also be the side effects of this window of opportunity, an evolutionary jump for mankind. And this sounds remarkably like what a Siberian geologist called Alexei Dmitriev has come up with. Dmitriev has shown that there are changes not only on planet Earth with our meteorological changes that we're seeing now, but that these are actually happening throughout the whole system, the solar system, on every planet in the solar system. Atmospheric and magnetic changes are happening.